The Fever from Indiana. Their circumstances haven't been ideal. Stephanie White makes the decision to alter the course of events, slow down, and remove Caitlin from the game. It's enough. We've had enough. She has no idea what she's doing. She isn't a trustworthy coach. Making Caitlin Clark a small forward, in her opinion, is a wise move. It's obvious that Caitlin Clark is not pleased about this. Stephanie White just surprised the basketball community with a move. Stephanie White will remain the same. Caitlin Clark is not a good fit for Stephanie White's coaching style. Let me reiterate. Stephanie White, as a coach, you are an absolute jerk. Trash? It never occurred to me that I would say this. Stephanie White must be fired by the Indiana Fever. Aari McDonald is now in charge of the offense after Caitlin Clark was relieved of her point guard responsibilities. Now she wants to put Aari McDonald first. Suddenly, this is more than simply a poor coaching choice. So if you're all Caitlin, leave a 100% in the comments section right now. This issue has the potential to ruin everything. On this crew, no one sets screens. Clearly, Caitlin Clark is the reason why so many people are watching the WNBA. All of these fans are watching because of her. Breaking collegiate scoring records and introducing women's basketball to a new audience. Caitlin Clark has enthralled the country. She is a phenomenon. Caitlin Clark did not enter the WNBA with the intention of becoming a screener. She entered the game as a generational point guard, the one who drives the offense and makes everything happen. Because when Caitlin Clark isn't playing, Indiana becomes even more dangerous. They have made a mistake. The Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark is not yours. However, Stephanie White made the unimaginable choice only a few weeks after she recovered. From her accident, she gave the point guard position to Aari McDonald after removing Caitlin from it. Caitlin Clark is an excellent shooting guard. Caitlin Clark seems to be making a comeback tonight. By keeping her off the ball, the Fever are giving the superstar a new appearance. White argues that by encouraging Clark to play more off the ball, she will be able to achieve crisper looks. Here's the issue, though. Clark is not suited for basketball off ball. Not quite yet. According to statistics, she is much more proficient in dribbling than spotting up. Compared to shooting off the catch, Caitlin Clark is more proficient at dribbling. We're still going to do a lot of that because, as I mentioned, it's what I do. Best, her efficiency is destroyed when she is out of rhythm. Caitlin Clark's off-ball play and the team's performance will suffer if they continue to run the same nearly rapid hitters from the previous season. Clark has made subtle but constant statements. She has accepted a position at the coach after each interview. Everyone is aware of the fact that she's stated in interviews, "I'm at my best in transition with the ball in my hands. I'm at my best when I'm in transition." Everyone is aware of that. Yes, I believe that in the most recent game, I gave up a bit too much to Atlanta. I was a little more aggressive in the first game, and they guarded me the same way. Whether someone is present or not, I believe we need to do a better job of getting me the ball in transition. Not at all. Playing me off the ball and getting the ball in my hands, in my opinion, require a delicate balance. I'm at my best during transitions at that point. Everyone is aware of that. Regarding it, I'm pretty forthright. Everyone, with the apparent exception of Stephanie White. She is currently being used as a ruse. She doesn't even have gravity, so she's just going to use her as a decoy. Asked to run around off the ball and set screens. On this crew, no one sets screens. She creates amazing screens. She seems to be a role player because of things that happen off the ball and float in the corners. Then, when we get a chance to practice, go over examples of how these angles appear. It's because she is an exceptionally skilled cutter and screener. I believe she lost out on some of the prospects we discussed there. Well, we must expect that teams will look at us in different ways. Excellent scorers will receive an open look if they are also excellent screeners. Not the cornerstone of the offensive. It's more than just a poor fit. It's almost demeaning to her skill. Why is it worse? This isn't functioning. Clark is no longer the target of offenses. Teams are assigning her to less capable defenders, even backups occasionally. And because she isn't initiating anymore, it works. She is being excluded from the offensive scheme of her own squad. She isn't taking any action. Clark read the floor, controlled the tempo, broke down defenses, and created looks for everyone else last season. Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hand. She was acting hostilely. She was accelerating the pace. Since she isn't permitted to be Caitlin Clark this year, the fever stops when she is on the ground. Natasha Howard simply when Caitlin Clark is on the floor, it appears that she simply checks out. She is not trusted by Stephanie White to lead the team. The issue is philosophical. She doesn't think that basketball style will prevail. She doesn't believe that, as she doesn't let Caitlin Clark get away with her faults. It is due to philosophy rather than performance. Until her method of bringing everyone down to their level in basketball wins out. Stephanie White will not give up. She supports a method that distributes consumption and slows down the game. Since Stephanie White plays basketball the old-fashioned way, it appeared as though they brought her in. Moreover, it neutralizes stars. A generational player, however, is incompatible with that approach. You don't minimize Caitlin Clark's significance. Around her, you construct the arena. Caitlin Clark's efforts at a low shot. Caitlin Clark's low usage is the cause. Caitlin Clark's future with this steam fever. She can't develop with a team if she is made to perform tasks she dislikes. In my opinion, the Indiana Fever's attack has now been turned over to Aari McDonald after Caitlin Clark was forced off the ball. It was dubbed a dual ball handler system by Stephanie White. Don't get me wrong though, Aari is running point. Keishi is controlling possessions, starting sets, and moving the ball up. Keisha say Shay. The general is no longer Clark. She's only a soldier. Let's be clear now. The guard Aari McDonald is gifted. She gives defensive energy and is swift and aggressive. Here's the reality though. She is not on this team. This is not her time. Additionally, this experiment of substituting a reliable role player for a once-in-a-generation attacking powerhouse is not only foolish, but it is destroying the Fever's entire potential. When McDonald's operates the offense, the speed decreases. Aari McDonald will undoubtedly remain the starting point guard. The flow stops. Teams no longer have to contend with Caitlin Clark bringing the ball up 94 feet, which relieves defensive pressure. Because Copper was too occupied guarding Caitlin Clark last year. We witnessed her enjoy a 5-point game versus the Fever, when it's not her forte. One of the world's most dynamic playmakers is now being deployed as a shooter while standing. In the corner, groups are picking it up fast. They don't have to give Clark their best defender anymore. Since she is no longer in the center of the action, they place anyone on her. Actually, Caitlin Clark was being guarded by Caitlin Chen, a guard at the peripheral level. And you know what? Clark never made contact with the ball. Yesterday, Caitlin Chen was placed on Caitlin Clark. You left Caitlin Clark after they put Caitlin Chen on her. She has been marginalized to that extent in this system. Despite her vitality, McDonald lacks gravity. She doesn't compromise. Unlike Clark, she doesn't make wide-open threes simply by being on the court. McDonald's driving isn't causing offenses to collapse. It's obvious they're waiting and observing her. The distance has fallen apart. The originality has vanished. Fever offenses are already incredibly predictable and simple to shut down. It's not only the adjustment in ball handling either. It's the total disregard for using the weaponry in Caitlin's vicinity. Last year, blitzes became 4-on-3s when she was on the ball. Lexi Hall was standing in this corner with them. Nalissa Smith wandered around. Listen to me now. Seemed like she was constantly getting in the way. However, what they possessed was Leah and Caitlin are running the pick. And roll around here, Caleb, get off it. If they didn't blitz, Aaliyah would short roll to here and Caitlin would hit her on that short roll. Aaliyah Boston was hitting short rolls. Caitlin. Clean looks were being given to Lexi Hall and Kelsey Mitchell. The entire system came together. Now, when Caitlin is blitzed, no one moves. The ball remains in place. There are either soft screens or none at all. No one moves when Aaliyah Boston short rolls and Caitlin is blitzed. There is only stale, immobile basketball, no pick-and-roll counters, no DHO movement. This isn't about Aari McDonald being superior. Let's face it. In order to maximize her stardom, Stephanie White is enforcing her system. Additionally, players like Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard are favored by that method. Veterans who desire their MVP campaigns, touches, and ISOs. Here's the risk, though. Experimenting is one thing. Disrespecting your cornerstone is another. It's comfy for White's old-school manner, not because it works, which is why Aari McDonald is being elevated. It causes the game to lag. The ball is spread. However, it doesn't create chemistry or win games. The Fever has not been released by this action. They've been forced into mediocrity. Aari isn't being maximized. Caitlin is being minimized. Franchises don't recover from that kind of error. In a lot of the plays, Aari McDonald would bring it up, and Keon Clark would then emerge from these subpar screens. Even their selections were poor. The Indiana Fever offense then completely collapses, or Keon Clark may not touch the ball until 9 seconds remain in the shot clock. This is more than just a coaching choice for the Indiana Fever and, to be honest, the WNBA's future. This is a game-or-die situation. Because you're not just altering the offense when you push a player of Caitlin Clark's generation out of her natural position. You're demolishing the core of what made this squad significant. Let's be honest, the Indiana Fever are still relevant because of Caitlin Clark. The game has been altered by Caitlin Clark. In college and the WNBA, she made a change. The nation is in love with what we have produced. And here's the grown-up girl next door, America. Clark, Caitlin. Breaking collegiate scoring records and introducing women's basketball to a new audience. Caitlin Clark has enthralled the country. She is a phenomenon. Tickets sold out because of her. She's the reason millions of new fans tune into games, buy shirts, and care about this league. She is more than a novice. She represents a revolution. What then did the front desk and Stephanie White do? They created a decoy for her. She doesn't even have gravity, so she's just going to use her as a decoy. Both physically and symbolically, they have positioned Clark in a corner. The player who led the NCAA basketball league in assists and points, who boosted her teammates, with each possession has been transformed into a screener. Like a placeholder player. Even worse, it's not a short-term change. Its commitment is philosophical. Buying into we over me is the foundation of White's entire philosophy. She notably mentioned that Clark may learn from Tyrese Halliburton's early involvement of his teammates, equal touches, shared usage, and a slow, methodical strategy designed to control possessions and slow down games. If you're coaching a middle school team, that works. It doesn't function with Caitlin around. Clark, consider this. The Indiana Fever had a chance to become the WNBA's Warriors. TV that is fast-paced, thrilling, and a must-watch. They're changing. They're named the Connecticut Sun 2.0, excluding the wins. They replaced the lid, claiming that they had lightning in a bottle. Damage from this coaching change is already apparent. She hits the step, pushes up the court, and gets the rebound. Mid-range jump shot from the back. It was clean. Although she missed a few jump shots during the game, Caitlin Clark's ability to drive the pace off of rebounds is why I brought up this play. She has the ball in her hands and will work. Her approach is one-on-one. She plays that game. One-on-one is how Caitlin Clark plays. The stats for Caitlin are declining. Her usage is declining. She is being pushed to create plays from awkward off-ball catches, which is increasing her turnovers. The chemistry is dissolving. It's one of the few players that flourished with Clark. Lexi Hull hardly ever plays. It's a failing offense. There isn't an elite counter when teams swarm McDonald's. No one moves when they blitz Clark. When pressure is applied, the system chokes. It's cracking in the locker room. In interviews, Clark has a different tone. She's annoyed. She is truly furious about this. She is furious, sarcastic. She said, "I'm working on my screening," such as asking LeBron James to improve his rebounding skills. It goes beyond friction. A fire just itching to get out. The most hazardous part comes next. Careers can be derailed in this way. A franchise is given a generational talent each year, and some of them fail miserably. Not because the player wasn't good enough, but rather because the system stifled them, preventing the stars from getting the ball because of egos, politics, or outdated ideologies. Would the Mavs have instructed Spencer Dinwiddie to lead the offense by having Luka Doncic stand in the corner? Would the Lakers have ever improved their game by stealing Magic Johnson's ball motion? It would be equivalent to telling Shaq to tell Steph Curry the teams are guarding the three-point shot, so stop taking them. The Lakers are comparable. Suppose there were 2,000 Lakers? Shaq draws double teams, to put it literally. Shaq is going to have a difficult time. Therefore, we will no longer give Shaq the ball. To give Carlos Boozer more opportunities, would the Cavaliers have benched LeBron James? Never. Never in 1,000 years. Great teams are aware that you don't undervalue your stars. You let them loose. Stephanie White is currently opting for system over superpower. Comfort is more important to her than chaos. And the Fever could lose everything if they make this decision. Future free agents, chemistry, supporters, and victories. Caitlin Clark herself, above all, the game has been altered by Caitlin Clark. In college and the WNBA, she made a change. The nation is in love with what we have produced. And here's Caitlin Clark, the girl next door, all grown-up America. The Caitlin Clark effect is the term used to describe her influence and presence. In women's basketball, the air is already filled with it. The stress, the lost chances, the increasing quiet in the meetings. If nothing changes, one of two outcomes will occur. Change, a new position, a new coach, or perhaps a new team will be what Caitlin Clark demands. Or worse, she'll settle for being mediocre. She will be pushed into a system that cuts off her wings, dulls her spark, and disrupts her rhythm. And that's the main reason this is serious. Because Caitlin Clark is too valuable for the WNBA to waste. She cannot be let down by the Fever. Furthermore, the sport of basketball cannot afford to keep making the same mistakes. Punishing greatness in order to maintain dysfunctional systems or to safeguard ego. This is more than just a coaching choice. There is a fork in the road. The way they view the game and how they believe the Indiana Fever should play is rather different. And a wrong turn may reverberate for years. Her basketball philosophy has obviously not changed. This initially appears to be a coaching dispute, a basketball issue, or a misalignment in strategy. Investigating further, however, reveals a concerning trend that suggests something far more significant than X's and O's. The Indiana Fever and possibly the league as a whole are beginning to express disapproval about Caitlin Clark becoming the focal point. Her fame is growing too quickly, not because she isn't good enough. Clark had millions of admirers from the start. She immediately became the face of women's basketball, breaking ratings records and selling out arenas. However, it seems like her staff has been purposefully lowering her profile rather than embracing that. Consider it. The Indiana Fever hasn't been doing well, as seen by headlines like "There's more to the Fever than Caitlin Clark." Stephanie White makes the decision to alter the situation, slow to take Caitlin out of the game and put everything down. It's enough. We've had enough. She has no idea what she's doing. She isn't a trustworthy coach. Making Caitlin Clark a small forward, in her opinion, is a wise move. Clark, Caitlin. Other players who have less of an influence have been elevated to the top, receiving more plays, shots, and publicity. Natasha Howard has discussed her aspirations to be an MVP. Dana Bonner was promoted as the franchise focal point. While Kelsey Mitchell received ISO calls, Clark waits for a touch while standing in the corner, even if it means downplaying the one player who initially brought the focus. It's difficult to deny the likelihood that the Fever front office is purposefully balancing the spotlight. They seem to be worried that the squad will be perceived as a one-woman operation. That ball is moving when he's not on the ground. It's exploding. Several parties participating. Therefore, even if it harms the team, they are attempting to lessen her influence. Not to mention that we have already seen this playbook. It backfired when WNBA media outlets attempted to elevate everyone else at Clark's expense last year. Supporters didn't change sides. No new stars were adopted by them. They just stopped watching. Or worse, they lost all contact with the league. Now, the same error in judgment is occurring within her personal changing area. Winning basketball games doesn't seem to be as important to the Fever as demonstrating that they are more than just Caitlin Clark. Instead of establishing a dynasty around a transcendent figure, they would rather to demonstrate balance. Caitlin, you're the mascot now. You're the mascot now. We're going to lose. We're going to play boring, and we just care about the ticket sales. Or something similar. It's not only short-sightedness either. It is self-defeating. In professional sports, excellence is the foundation. We're going to remove it. We're going to take away her talent so we won't allow the other team to take it away. You don't conceal it. It is not neutralized. It is not silenced for political or egoistic reasons. What if the NBA had taken this action against LeBron as a rookie? Or whether Tim Duncan was advised to give way to more experienced players because he was only starting out. The stars were the focus of such franchises. They prospered because of this. They created legacies for this reason. However, it appears that the Fever and possibly others are more focused on controlling narratives than optimizing victories in this situation. This is why it's not just about basketball. It has to do with ego, image, and control. Additionally, regrettably Caitlin, all of it is costing Clark dearly. As a player, I believe she has lost Caitlin. Being background noise wasn't Caitlin Clark's reason for joining the WNBA. She came to change the game. And her own team is currently silencing that change not. Her opponents maximize the commercial prospects brought about by Caitlin Clark joining the club and cultivate a larger, more devoted fan base for themselves that is not focused on Caitlin. Stephanie White may believe that this is merely a tactic, but to the league, the fans, and anybody else who knows when they witness greatness, it feels intimate, since this is more than simply basketball. Please leave a 100% in the comment section right now if you think Caitlin Clark deserves better, and that the Fever are squandering a once-in-a-lifetime talent. When excellence is in front of you, you should honor it. The Caitlin Clark effect is the term used to describe her influence and presence in women's basketball. The nation is in love with what we have produced. Moreover, America, this is the neighboring girl has grown up. Caitlin Clark,